This is how I want to take off, bottom turn, and do a turn. However, as a mere mortal, it is clearly not where my level of surfing is currently at. It may be impossible to ever be as good as Patrick Bevan, but that's not the goal. As with many other surfers, my goal is to enjoy the surfing as much as possible, and all the fun that the learning process has to offer. Ironically, the combination of the coaching information which is now available, combined with training at the wave pool, are transforming so many surfers' progression, getting them to a level they never thought would be possible. So how do you improve your cutback, identify and solve all those frustrating problems, and achieve some sort of material improvement? Well, the first thing is probably to seek advice from somebody who knows what they're talking about. The second point is to objectively analyse where the surfer is at, identifying the problems. Then thirdly, make a plan based on the teachings of the credible guide so that a staged and logical approach is followed. Well, one of Australia's leading surf coaches, Martin Dunn, has kindly offered to help out. He's been the head coach for the Australian national team, coaches world tour and elite level surfers, all the way through to hobbyists and intermediate surfers like me. Over the next 4 weeks, I'm going to be sharing the plan Martin has come up with, the associated training, and all the useful insights and teachings Martin had to share that helped me improve. Want to hear what one of the world's best surfing coaches has to say about where I'm at, what I'm doing wrong, and how to solve the problems? Then this vlog's for you. I'm James Davis, and I've been a skydiver for over 20 years, jumping and competing all around the world. In the last 18 months, I've been surfing at the wave pool in Bristol to see if wave pools can do for surfing what wind tunnels did for skydiving. I wanted to see what would happen if an average surfer trained at the wave pool for a year, if they could learn to get barreled, sharing all the mistakes, learning points and experiences along the way. For those of you that have been following this journey, you'll have already seen where I'm at surfing wise. But a little bit of self-awareness also highlights that I'm clearly not rotating around enough, finishing the turn properly, and I seem to be off balance a lot of the time with the flailing back arm. Learning is super fun, and I'm very curious as to what Martin has to say, what steps I should be focusing on next, and how Martin coaches, as I've always heard very good things about his approach and best practices that he recommends. Martin has hundreds of video tutorials breaking down techniques, but he also goes on to share videos on best practice, structured recommendations for your surfs, and hacks to help practice the skill, as well as land-based simulations and surf skate drills. Anyway, I don't want to steal his thunder, so over to Martin.
Normally when I start a video review, I talk to a person about their surfing and how that all operates for them. I'm not in the process of criticising anyone else. I want to give you feedback on what I see from my understanding of what should be there at your level of performance. So I'm not talking to you as a professional surfer. I'm talking to you as a surfer who enjoys their surfing and they want to do better turns. They want to feel more comfortable in the water, in the lineup, and the like. So that's the purpose of today's review, and that's what we're going to go through now. There's just a couple of things I'd just like to point out to start with. The first thing is that with your pop-up, you've got an action which is the back knee, front foot, back foot action. So it's a three-pronged action. In the ocean, in suckier waves, in unpredictable waves, I would predict that this slower action would be a problem for you. So the first thing I would say is that if you're wanting to be a better surfer, it doesn't really have major implications here, but in the open ocean environment it does. You need a faster pop-up. Okay, so a faster pop-up is one where you pop up and both feet hit the board together. If at a minimum, it should be without the back knee hitting the board.
Okay, so the first thing that is mentioned is my pop-up, my surfing nemesis, and a topic that you can hear me lament about in the vlogs mentioned above. Now I'll keep this on topic, so let's stay on the turn advice, but I did want to share Martin's thoughts and double down on how much I hate my pop-up and how much work I've got to do to fix it.
And then when you get to the top of the wave, you start the turn, and what happens here, there's two things going on here. The first thing is that you actually don't go to the top of the wave, you go to 2/3, 3/4 of the way up the wave. Okay, so what I'm saying there is that you don't go up high enough up the wave. Okay, and if we look at the surfing, the forehand waves, all of them, just about all of them, you're a little bit low. And the problem with being low when you're doing a top turn is when you're low, you actually got more board in the water and you don't get as much release off the top. So the idea here is that what you want to do is you want to drive up to the top of the wave and go as high up so that you are breaking the top fin free as you're doing the turn. So when you're breaking the top fin free as you're doing the turn, you actually got 2/3 of the, well, you got probably half of the board out of the water. With less board in the water, that's less hydrodynamic drag, which is a biomechanical term, a nautical term. You got less biomechanical drag, hydrodynamic drag, sorry. Therefore, the board slices through the wave, through the turn more effectively. Okay, so everyone should try and go right to the top of the wave when they do their top turns. And then what happens is when you come up to the top of the wave, you're trying to turn, right? But what happens is your leading hand, which is your left arm, it's in front of your body. And the problem with that being in front of the body, that actually locks the upper body, locks your head from turning. And as a result of that, what happens is the back arm goes back. So it's not the back arm that's the problem. It's actually the front arm that's the problem. And the reason, and so the old action, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Well, when your front arm is in front of your body like that, the resultant of that is that as you try to turn, your body can't turn, so the back arm goes back, which it does just there. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to drop that arm away, go to the top of the wave and drop that arm away, and you will do much more efficient and much more correct turns when you're doing turns off the top. Yeah?
Yep. Okay,
so you see the second one, actually you did go to the top of the wave, which is great. And you can see what happens when you go to the top of the wave, what happens is all the spray that comes off your board goes above the wave. So it looks like, well, it is, you're doing a better turn. Okay. If you come up to the top and you drop that leading arm away, you would do even a better turn. So that's established, if you like, that's established the main things that the next step in your development is that you could work on your pop-up. You could work on your height off the top. You see here again, it's low. Okay, remember the picture is we're breaking the top fin free. That's the height we want. Okay, and in this case, your arm is in a better position. Okay, but it stays locked in that position, and your back arm goes back. Okay, and again we'll see that on a number again a little bit low on that next turn, and we'll have one more look at the next wave. Low top turn, arm in front. So the third turn there was more to the top of the wave, so that was great. And then you're doing the turn, and you can see that as you're trying to turn your head, which is the right thing to do in that point, on that particular turn, the front arm is blocking everything from happening in a flowing way. as you develop this, another thing you can do is, as you're doing your bottom turn, what you can do is you can look here rather than here. Okay, so that's once you feel comfortable about doing a better top turn, then the next stage you would do is you would actually look above your head more, so that you're having a more vertical trajectory off the face. Therefore, the turn off the top you do will be harder and sharper, but it'll be more radical in nature. So it'll be a better turn because it's tighter in the pocket, right? So here, because you looked out onto the face on your bottom turn, because you looked out on the face in a more horizontal way, what happens is that your board goes out in a horizontal way. So the first thing is to learn to feel comfortable about going up to the top of the wave, breaking the top fin free, dropping that arm away. So dropping the arm away, you can think about pointing to the 6 o'clock position. So pointing down towards vertically down here. The arm should be in opposition. It should be in opposite to the top arm. So instead of it being at more right angles to it, it should be more pointing down towards the hip.
Okay, so this is where it gets interesting. Martin immediately zoned in on the key issues and explained what I needed to be doing. That's all fantastic, but it's the next bit of help, which are the drills to do at home, the best practices to implement when you're actually in the water surfing, such as focusing on the pop-up for the first 3 waves, and the structured 4-week plan, which is next level stuff, and I can't wait to get involved with. Having reference material as to what a surfer should be doing and to compare video evidence of what you're really doing is super powerful. Clearly, a lot of work can be done at home away from the surf.
Part of the training you need to do, I think also what you could do is you should pop up so that there's no knee involved and you're trying to both feet hit the board together. And the moment they do, the hands lift off the board. All right. So the goal of popping up is to paddle in, pop up, both feet hit the board together and let go of that. Simultaneously, they land. The hands are off. That's your aim. That's your goal, what you're trying to do. Because then what you've got full control right from the moment you're taking the drop. Right. Because that little bit of a wobble as you're taking the drop interferes with your confidence. It gives you uncertainty, and then often what happens when people have got a slower pop up is that when they get to the bottom of the wave, they're still trying to recover from the drop, and so that interferes with the bottom turn as well. Recommendation is you need to do pop-ups. You can do it in front of the TV. You can do it out on the grass. You can do it on the grass at the wave pool before you paddle out. And when you're working on your pop-up, I would suggest that, okay, for the first 3 waves, that's the only thing you're going to try and do well. Okay, so you're giving yourself it's not going out and doing it for the whole session. You're just trying to do it well for the first 3 waves of the session. Because pop-ups, as I said, are very difficult to change, and they need total focus. And a lot of the pop-up comes from the momentum of the paddle. So as soon as you start paddling for that wave, in a wave pool, it might be only 3 or 4 strokes, okay, but they should be hard because you want as much momentum as possible. Momentum into the peak helps with a faster pop-up. Okay. Forehand bottom turn, we've done We've talked about, where you're looking up. But the thing that what you're trying to do, you're trying to go right to the top and you're trying to drop that leading arm down towards the bottom. So the number one thing when you're working on your top turns, go to the top of the wave, break the top fin free. But before you do, turn your head, but most importantly, get that arm pointing to the 6 o'clock position at least. Okay, everything else can follow. So point and look to the 6. Or if you find that's a bit too much, come up and point to the 6, but only look to the 7 or 8. You don't necessarily need to turn your head as much. But this arm here needs to get out of the way to unlock the upper body. Simulation on a skateboard, which is like this. Get to the top of the wave, you can see the arm drops away. And he's not looking to the 6, but he's turned his head and he's looking maybe to the 7 or the 8. Okay, so I'll just play this through in time. And you can say a word, a task word. So you can say twist or point, because that leading arm is the problem. So point, that's the simulation for doing a top turn. Okay, so if you've got a surf skateboard, I would be doing simulations about that. We'll talk about that in the 4-week challenge in a moment. And it's saying to you in week 1, do some land simulations, do some skate simulations. The surf drills, okay, is all about doing bottom turns, bottom turn, top turn drills, doing the re-entry drills and the like. There's a lot of work here involved in this, doing a skate simulation 3 times a week, doing land simulations, every night, fundamentally. Do your pop-ups every night as they're supposed to be done. Yeah. Anyway, so you can follow a program like this 4-week challenge, and you'll do, if you do the simulations correctly, you'll start to build a pattern that will work for you in the ocean.
Okay, so there's lots of amazing information there and work to be done. And you can clearly see the points Martin raised in Patrick surfing, along with many other details that have been shared with me since this journey started. But for now, it's higher turns, lowering that leading arm, and drilling the hell out the pop-up at home. If you also want to get involved and have a look at the 4-week plan, then I've put links in the description down below, along with all of Martin's contact details, in case any of you want to get some Zoom coaching as well. In the next vlog, I start the 4-week plan, share some ways where I'm trying to put into practice the concepts Martin talked about, and I'm also going to share some surfskate footage. Now the last point is kind of a big deal, because despite hearing how amazing they are, and never really caring about anything other people think, I've never been able to sign off on a surfskate. Perhaps it's being in my mid-40s, or perhaps there are some other words or thoughts I can't bring myself to say here on YouTube, but I'm going to give it a shot nonetheless. So until the next vlog, enjoy your surfing wherever it may be, and God help me, I'm about to get on a skateboard.